Good morning, everybody. At 10 a.m., we're going to call to order the Board of Commissioners meeting for August 11th. If you would, please rise if you're able for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. At this time, we'll accept any public comment for items not appearing on today's agenda. Is there any public comment for today's meeting? Okay. Seeing and hearing none, we will accept public comment under each agenda item. Would there be a motion to approve our minutes from our last meeting on August 4th?
Motion to approve the minutes from the August 4th Board of Commissioners meeting.
I will second that.
Been moved and seconded. Any final discussion on the minutes? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion is carried. Okay. Moving into the County Relief Block Grant, seeing if there's any updates today or anything we needed to discuss at this point to discuss. Yeah.
Well, Mary Kay Williams and I were on a Facebook Live program this morning with the Penn State SBDC. It went pretty well. I think we answered 15 or 16 questions that the small businesses had. I believe there were 100 plus listening in. I'd like to have Mary Kay check with Margaret, see if it's okay to maybe post that on the county website to help reduce the workload on Mary Kay and the SBDC.
Your judgment.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think if it's beneficial, absolutely. Sure.
All right, so as long as Margaret approves, you might want to peek at it, make sure, we're all professional and everything, but.
Sure, it's fine.
Okay, all right.
All right. Yeah, please. Yeah, Mary Kay.
Good morning. We are making some real progress. We have a really awesome team working on getting the grant out. So as Commissioner Higgins said, we were on with the SBDC, and the SBDC has been very helpful to us. So we're hoping we're kind of coming down the home stretch, and we're hoping within the next 2 weeks for the application to be out online. And I would also encourage people to go to our website where you can actually get a notification about the block grant, that they could get email or text notifications as well. So we are coming down the home stretch on that, and we're also taking a look. This past week, we've looked at process for distributing some money to our municipalities as well, and so we're working on a process. We had quite a lengthy work session last week, and I appreciated the commissioners and all that were involved. I feel that we're coming down the road pretty well, so I really appreciate the opportunity to do this report. Thank you.
Thanks, Mary Kay.
Appreciate it, Mary Kay. Thank you very much. Okay. All right. Moving into contracts, we're going to be welcoming up Lee Schaefer to discuss this. Notice of termination. Good morning, Lee.
Good morning, everyone. So, yeah, we were asking to execute the opt-out clause in the nittany professional cleaning contract. We have had some discussions on this. We feel we can be more effective completing this work in-house. This has been completed by contractors for some time now. I think, looking at the number of hours assigned, we can definitely be more effective. Also, with the COVID disinfecting practices, I think, the times that we're in right now, having direct supervision and over those staff, I think we can definitely be more effective in that route. Yep.
Thank you, Lee. Any questions for Lee on this? Comments? Okay. Would there be a motion?
Motion to approve the notice of termination for Professional Cleaning, Inc.
I will second that.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded. Any final discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
The motion is carried. Okay. Thank you very much, Lee. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Under our planning item, we're going to welcome up Chris Schnurr for a presentation today. Good morning, Chris.
Good morning, and thank you. The memorandum of understanding that's being presented today, just as a reminder, is a three-party agreement between the developer, township, and the county, whereby the developer agrees to reimburse the township for the costs associated with the township engineer's processing, reviewing, inspecting, and approving the engineering details of the plans. Today's memorandum of understanding, or MOU for short, is for the third and final phase of development for All Storage Solutions LLC, and it shows 2 self-storage buildings, each being 10,400 square feet, comprising 64 individual self-storage units per building, as well as corresponding infrastructure to service the proposed land development activity. And where we're located, if you draw your attention to the aerial photograph, is this is the test track facility on Penn State, and this is Rock Road. If you head north, you're going to hit 550, and this is the eastern part of University Park Airport. And the only lands that are really not owned by Penn State are highlighted in blue, and this is the facility, the area that's being developed, owned by All Storage Solutions. And if we advance the screen one more time, this is one of the plan sheets that was submitted with the land development plan. And what it shows is Phase 1, located right along Rock Road with existing buildings 1 and 2, which was approved in 2018. Buildings 3 and 4 have not yet been approved, but they've been given the authorization to get all the approval signatures. We did the final site inspection, and so they're moving forward with that. And so they said, well, can we submit the final Phase 3 for buildings 5 and 6? I said, sure. And so those are located right along the eastern part of the property that's being developed. And that's the MOU that's being presented for today for consideration.
Okay, thank you, Chris. And essentially, that would be the last.
It is,
that's the
correct.
last phase. Okay.
Yes.
All right. All right. Thanks, Chris. Any other questions, comments?
No, good stuff.
Just out biking that way with a good friend of mine last week. Real scenic area, too, so.
All right. Then look for a motion.
Motion to add the MOU for All Storage Solutions LLC to next week's consent agenda.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any final discussion on this? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion is carried. Okay. Thank you, Chris.
All right, thank you. Have a nice day.
Thank you.
For tax claim contract renewal, we'll welcome up Joyce McKinley. Good morning, Joyce.
Good morning, thank you. I'm here to request that it's a renewal for their contract with Palamone Posting, and that is the company that we use to post the properties for the upcoming tax sale, which they post for every property that is on the sale list, as well as any unclaimed notices for the 2019 taxes, and those notices were mailed out in February. So they post them, give us all the data, they take photographs, and that's all on file then. So it's a renewal for the contract for the period July 1st, 2020 through June 30th, 2021.
Thank you, Joyce.
Okay.
And does this fluctuate the amount that we pay them based upon how many properties are in the sales or how many they need to post, or is it a fixed amount? Or is it a
No,
mix of both?
it's by the number of postings that they are required to do. Okay?
Right.
For some context I could add, in 2019, we actually spent $22,715 on the contract, so that would give you a ballpark if it would be similar year to year. But
That's an average, yes, yes. And it also depends on the posting of the sale properties, if they're owner occupied, if they have to make 2 or 3 trips. They make, the max is 3 trips to contact those individuals and do personal service. So if they have to make 3 trips back, then that's a fee for each trip. So it varies.
Okay. Thank you, Joyce.
Okay.
Appreciate it very much. All right. We look for a motion then.
Motion to add the agreement with Palmetto Posting, Inc. to next week's consent agenda.
I will second that.
It's been moved and seconded. Any final discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
The motion is carried. Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Joyce. Appreciate
Thanks,
it.
Joyce.
Okay, for our Human Services portion of our agenda, we're going to welcome up Julia, and we also have Leah from the office here as well. And we're going to be discussing the needs-based budget first. And then we do know that, Julia, we do need to add a quarterly report. That we're also going to add that, but we'll take care of that after your presentation.
Okay, and then also it combined is the Child Welfare Information System Data Sharing Agreement should also be in the things to be approved as well. So just wanted to point out that Terry Trude from probation, juvenile probation, is also here today. When we submit our budget, it's not just for children youth services. There's a portion of it that also funds some juvenile probation services. So I am asking for you to consider the 21-22 needs-based plan and budget. We kept things pretty much the same. I am requesting an additional employee. The new regulatory requirements are lowering caseloads, and so with the state and the way funding runs, if I don't ask for it now, I can't have it in fiscal year 21-22. So I am anticipating that potentially we will need an additional employee. So I did add that into the plan as well. Also, additional expenses for both of our major private providers. They have to anticipate what their benefits will look like in the years 21-22. So there was a slight increase in that number as well. So I think the total increase is around $38,000 that we're asking over what we asked for fiscal year 2021. So what we're, in total, what we're asking for to, the assurance of financial commitment is $2,255,631.
Okay, thank you very much, Julia. Any questions on this from anybody? We did have a informational meeting with Julia, Leah, Vicky as well, and this was, it was a good meeting, a lot of information regarding it, so I'm just checking to see the CWIS. I'm not seeing it on the agenda or on our additional supplemental information. Is it time sensitive for today, or could we take care of it on Thursday? Thursday's fine? Okay, we'll take care of it on Thursday, okay, Julia? Thank you. Okay. Okay, we appreciate it very much. Thank you for the presentation. Terry and Leah, thank you as well for being here. Any questions for Julia?
More of just a statement. It's one of our larger county departments. It's quite possibly our most complex single departmental budget. We appreciate all the very, very hard work that went into this. And as you say, your budget's rather different because you're looking up to 18 months into the future and saying we need to ask kind of for the max, because if we don't ask for it now, there's no way we're going to get it 18 months from now. So thanks for explaining that to us.
And really not knowing what the state budget's going to look like come 2021.
Yes.
Okay, seeing if there's no other questions, we're going to look for a motion to add the 2021 to 2022 children's needs-based budget to Thursday's consent agenda.
Motion to add the fiscal year 2021 to 2022 children and youth needs-based budget to Thursday's consent agenda.
I will second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any final discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. The motion is carried. Okay. And then we're going to look to add to the agenda, if we could please, as a second CYS item, this would be a quarterly report for the period of April 1st, 2020 through June 30th, 2020. It's included in our packet as a separate sheet there. So we look for a motion to add that to the agenda.
Motion to add item number 2 under Children and Youth Services, a quarterly report for the period of April 1st, 2020 through June 30th, 2020.
I will second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion on adding it to the agenda? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
The motion is carried. Would there be a motion to add that to Thursday's consent agenda?
Motion to add the quarterly report for children and youth for the period of April 1st, 2020 through June 30th, 2020 to, you said next week's or Thursday's? Thursday's consent agenda.
I will second that.
It's been moved and seconded. Any final discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 The motion is carried. Okay. For our MHID, we have Natalie Corman on the phone. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Thanks, Lee.
And
Hey, Terry.
we are going to recognize her. Good morning, Natalie. How are you?
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm well. So I have before you 5 contracts. They are all for fiscal year 2021 services for the MHID office. They include our provider skills and number 1, who do both mental health and intellectual disability services for us. I'm going to skip number 2 to come back to it. Number 3 is legal services for us in regards to our hearings by Marianne Crescent. It's number 4 is for interpretive services that we provide through intellectual disability through our provider Jennifer Hockman, and then number 5 is our JS Transport, which does transportation services for us. In regards to number 2, it's a letter of agreement with Steve Wicks, Esquire. I want to note to the board that Dan McGee has been the longtime solicitor for the MHID, EI, drug and alcohol offices. Decades, I think, would be the right way to put the support that Dan McGee has provided to that office. And Dan has opted to take a step back from some of his legal work that he does, and that includes us. And so he gave us notice that his contract would end June 30th. So we reached out to Steve Wicks, Esquire. His office is located in Altoona. He is the Blair County MHID solicitor and has been for several years. Steve actually lived in Center County just up until last year, so he knows our community. He knows individuals in our community and in our court system, and then just as well really comes with a great amount of knowledge about the mental health intellectual, our acts, our codes, everything that we're responsible for. So we're excited to bring him on board and his expertise to us. And so this is a new agreement that we will be having with him. So in total, the 5 contracts for MHID total $149,792, with the county share being $6,906, of which all of these come out of our block grant funding. And that's all.
Okay, thank you very much, Natalie. Any questions, comments, feedback for Natalie? Okay, hearing none, is there a motion?
Motion to add the MHIDEI items 1 through 5 to next week's consent agenda.
I will second that.
It's been moved and seconded. Any final discussion? Hearing none, seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. The motion is carried. Okay, thank you very much, Natalie.
Thank you.
Okay, at this time, we're going to welcome Dave Lamason to discuss the fourth quarter MAT report.
Good morning, everyone.
Hi, Dave. Good morning.
Thank you for having me. I come before you requesting you to review and consider our fourth quarter medical assistance transportation report for the 2019-2020 fiscal year that ended on June 30th. The reports explains everything and how it was set up for the year. The amount that we used was $564,712 of the MATP allocation, which is $101,113 less than what was authorized. However, we all know why that happened. I'm proud to say that, we still have done quite a bit of MATP work, a lot of out-of-county trips for medical that we're still doing. And we're seeing a steady increase each week coming back there. So I'll be back before you in a week with our new allocation and seek your approval on that. But be glad to answer any questions if you have them.
Okay, thank you, Dave. Any questions, feedback for Dave?
Where can somebody get one of those snazzy bald eagle area face masks?
You talk to me. I probably have a few extra.
All right.
I have Phillipsburg too, so I'll wear that the next time. That way I'm not partisan. But, I'm very supportive of all the schools. I haven't seen Bellefonte yet. Hopefully they'll come up with one, but, yeah.
Okay, Dave, thank you very much for the presentation. In the context, we look for a motion at this time.
Motion to add the fourth quarter MATP report to next week's consent agenda.
Second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any final discussion? Please, Gary. Yeah.
In recent months, has there been an increase in requests for county transportation, or about the same, or?
Well, it's actually a little bit less, but it's certainly coming back, Gary. We're getting a lot more requests right now than what we've had in the last 3 months. Just people were expanding out, going back to their medical doctors. What was happening, obviously, was a lot of them were trying to do virtual, but in the world of medical assistance, they really can't do that as much, so they need to see the patients, and we're meeting those needs. Our contractor that does our out-of-county works numbers are he's about 80% of where he was prior to the pandemic, so it's certainly coming back, and we're happy with that, for sure.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you.
Very much. Sure. You bet. Do we need to take a vote on this? I apologize. I got caught up in the question. Did we?
I think
We do. Okay. Calling the question, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion is carried. Okay. Thanks again, Dave. Before we go into our consent agenda, we do have one item, again, it's on our sheet here. It would be to add to the agenda a professional subscription with Hootsuite for social media management services. The contract is $348 annually for the period of August 13th, 2020 through August 12th, 2021. Natalie Smith in our Commissioner's office is doing a fantastic job monitoring our social media, putting up posts, engaging with people online, and she did a trial for this for about a month. It worked out well, and she'd be then looking to continue it for a year, but it helps us to, again, put out more content and keep the residents of Center County up to date on what we're working on here. So we'd look for a motion to approve this, or I should say, add this to the agenda, and then the next motion would be to approve the subscription.
Yeah, I've heard of the software, so yeah, definitely something I think would be helpful to Natalie. So, motion to add a new item to today's agenda under Commissioners involving a professional subscription with Hootsuite for social media management services.
I will second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any final discussion on this? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion is carried. And then would we have a motion to approve the subscription?
Motion to approve the subscription with Hootsuite, Inc. for the period of August 13th, 2020 to August 12th, 2021, with a contracted rate of $348.
It's been moved and seconded. Any final discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Motion is carried. Okay. All right, going into our consent agenda, before we look to approve, we do have something, Margaret, for Adult Services, a comment there?
Yes, I just wanted to make note of an additional paragraph added to the 2 adult services contracts presented by Faith Ryan last week, last week. Lost track of my days. These are contracts with Service Access Management, and at the request of our Controller's Office, we are adding a paragraph related to audits and inspection, and it just really clarifies their responsibility to present a single audit to the county. So,
Okay.
make note of that.
Okay, so those have been added to
They
those.
have been added, and they'll be in the packets that you are presented for signature.
Okay, all right, thank you, Margaret.
But no motion required.
I don't think so.
No,
In
I
fact-
just wanted to let you know there was a change from what was presented to you last week.
Okay. Thank you very much, Margaret. All right, we look for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion to approve today's consent agenda.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. Any further discussion on this? Okay, hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. The motion is carried. Okay. For administrator's report, do we have an administrator's report today, Margaret? Okay. All right. For liquid fuels, we are going to be having a presentation from Ann Mesner at this time, and I believe that Ann is joining us by phone. I don't know if she would be potentially here or on the phone. So if that is the case, let's see here. Okay, I am not seeing her on the phone here, so we might have to, that's okay. If she's, we can always do the presentation next week. I don't think there's any absolute need to do it today, so, yeah.
Presentation that's required to be presented to you annually on the $5 fee for use program and liquid fuels. And also, as part of their presentation today, they wanted to lay out for you what the liquid fuels application process would look like for 2020, the timetable. I think they're looking to have that application process starting fairly soon, bringing that in for your review and approval, with awards being made to municipalities first, I believe. So they can go back through that, but we do need to get that liquid fuels process. And there she is.
Conversation mode.
There we go, Ann. Hi, hello. You might have been watching us from
Yes, I was trying to keep my distance, and
no
I
worries.
misunderstood the timing of this also. I apologize.
No, that's not a worry.
The
Let's,
conference is now in presentation mode.
not a worry, Ann. All right, so we were going to do an AV mute there. We'll bring up your PDF.
Yes, please.
And since it's a PDF, it looks like what we'll have to do is, let's see there.
So more of a page down than a click.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. There we go. So so whenever you'd like to advance it, I'd be happy to do that. So good morning, Ann. Thanks
Good
for being
morning,
here.
thank you. So I was asked to do a fee for local use update. So we are going to go through what we know now and how to move forward with applications at the end of this year. So if you wouldn't mind going to the next. So this is really the legislation that allows the county to have this fee for local use. It began with Act 89, enacted by the legislature, and then the county in 17 enacted their own ordinance to allow for this fee to occur, and it's a vehicle registration fee for vehicles in Center County. If you could go to the next one, please. This should look familiar. I haven't updated it. I'm still trying to find some of the data, but this really shows how this provides the ability to reduce the demands of lack of transportation funding in other venues and provides support to the county for a lot of projects. And an example would be on the next slide, with our effort to improve local bridges. This is probably one area that receives the least amount of funding from other funding sources, and this is a good way for the county to support it. One of the things you'll see on the bottom of that slide is there is this leverage of $2 million when we have certain bridges. It's called roadmap. We do not have that on our TIP or long-range plan for future allocations. But one of the things I want to do this year is to get more information from PennDOT, how we can get essentially the ball rolling for us to use those matching funds. Next slide, please. So the really nice thing is that it allows for some flexible projects, and we've had some success throughout the county getting projects funded. And this really helps and probably will help in the future as we learn more about how COVID will impact municipalities. Next slide, please. This is an updated version of what you have on the web page now from December, and I wanted to point out just a couple of things. We did receive roughly $8,000 in interest last year. And then we received our allocation this year in June, and that is roughly 45% of what we received last year. We will receive another allocation sometime in December, but when I reached out to PennDOT, they hadn't gotten back to me about whether it'd be the same or not, but at least we have something to start with. So really looking forward to finding ways to use those funds. Next slide, please. So as a funding source, we've received 6 deposits from 2017. And in 19, we received a little bit above $584,000. Our total end of balance for 2019 was just above $1.1 million. And as I had said before, the interest for last year and our receipt of what we've gotten so far. Next slide, please. I thought it might be interesting to see a couple projects that were actually completed last year as part of our reporting to PennDOT. So the Julian Pike Guide Rail project and the Seal and Chip Unionville Pike project were both completed last year, and they used all of the funds that had been allocated to them. We now are going to start thinking ahead and what can we do with what's available now. So at this point, I am looking at $446,000 with a little bit extra over there to distribute potentially this year. Next slide, please. I did not account for interest gained this year, just so you know, so they'll be a little bit higher. But I wanted to kind of pose this for the commissioner's consideration on our schedule. In the past, my understanding is we've had a meeting to authorize solicitation, and then we go with notifying the municipalities in the same week, so August 25th, Tuesday, August 25th, with notification August 28th, and then deadline for submission from the municipalities October 23rd. And I would then be reviewing with PennDOT for a number of weeks, seeing which projects look like they meet the criteria, and then going forward with recommendations to you in November and following up with awards in early December. Just wanted to float that if that seems like that would work with your budget. Your schedule, and I'm happy to have it altered because you know your schedule better than I.
Sure. So any feedback on that schedule? And I will say it does replicate previous years, and
Okay.
it looks like it gives us plenty of time. So absolutely, yeah. Looks like it'll give us plenty of time.
Hopefully you
Okay.
get some good projects in there.
We're looking forward to it. Did you have any other questions?
If you'd like to maybe touch on as well some of the awards that have been given to Rush Township, leveraging some of these dollars as well, maybe at a next report might be helpful to update some of those numbers to
Sure.
showcase the fact that we've been able to leverage some of those dollars there as well. I think that would be helpful to mention. So as we learn a little bit.
Yep,
Yeah.
happy to do that. If you would like a more detailed report on progress made by all the municipalities and their completion of the projects, I can do that also.
Agree. Okay. Any other feedback questions for Ann?
I think this is critical money now. Municipality budgets soon to be greatly impacted by the pandemic. We need to keep our roads in good repair, whether the earned income tax or property tax is coming in on schedule or not.
All right. I did have one thing I forgot to mention.
Sure.
With the projects that were on the previous slide listed as part of the report, there are 3 asterisks, and I just wanted to say that those projects had not received multimodal funding.
Okay, right.
And something for the commissioners to think about is considering, because it was contingent that they receive those funds upon receiving a successful MTF grant, that given the circumstances of what's going on now, that we kind of extend that contingency. So just something to think about as we move through this process.
And in Ferguson Township as well, I know that they were doing a street bike lanes, and they also applied for multimodal funds. But I can't recall I don't think we did a $5 fee. I think it was the liquid fuels we allocated. So again, that's another
Yes.
example of allowing them to roll that over into another project.
Right.
So
Yep.
sounds like many things to consider in the next few months. So this is a good starting point. And thank you.
And that
All
was
right.
right by the new restaurant in Pine Grove as well that
Is
just
that right?
opened.
Okay. Okay.
All right, thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks, Ann. Thank you. Okay. Going into our check run, Commissioner Higgins, we'll turn it over to you.
Smaller than average check run in the amount of $658,081.74. The check of the week is to Joel Conforford of Belfont. Dave's still here. They're a major vendor for our transportation department, helping maintain our entire fleet. And we very much appreciate everything they've been doing for county transportation. Their check comes to $12,215.46, but that was for several dozen different services on probably several dozen different vehicles. So would like to make a motion to approve the check run dated August 7th, 2020.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve the check run. Any further discussion on the check run? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Check run is approved. Thank you, Commissioner. For our senior night requests, we have 2. We have the sponsorship of a bulletin board message for the Center County League of Women Voters Candidates Night, and this would run from September 28th through October 8th of this year. In addition, we have the sponsorship for CNET's broadcasting of the Center County League of Women Voters Candidates Night to be held on Thursday, October 8th at 7 p.m. And it's our understanding that this will be the first time that they're going to be doing it over Zoom. So hopefully more individuals will be able to see the individuals running for office here in our community and see their answers to the questions posed to them. So we look for a motion to approve both CNET requests.
Motion to approve both CNET requests.
Been moved and seconded. Any final discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. The motion is carried. Okay. And we do not have a voter registration
No.
report today, Commissioner?
No.
Okay. All right. So we'll see that next week, hopefully. And then executive sessions, I need to report, Margaret?
No executive sessions to report, but we do need to meet in executive session to discuss a personnel matter.
Okay, following this, okay, all right, thank you. Okay, before we would look to go into executive session, we would welcome the opportunity for questions.
As we speak right now, the Big Ten that began at 10:30 is in a closed meeting where they are expected to discuss and potentially make a decision which would cancel the 2020 fall football season, obviously having a large impact on Penn State. One of you wouldn't mind briefly discussing, obviously safety of players and coaches probably is at the forefront, perhaps behind this decision, but also large economic impact in the area. I don't know what type of numbers you have in front of you, but I think we all know that there is some significant impact by not having football in Happy Valley this fall season.
Absolutely. Well, we were in this room several months ago talking about the need to wear masks, and there was this great ad that was put on by the National Association of Manufacturing that essentially said, look, if we mask up, if we do the physical distancing, if we do the hand hygiene, there's a greater likelihood that we're going to have stadiums full. Now, maybe that message was a little bit too optimistic, but in terms of the playing football, it actually doesn't seem like the argument is about the economics. It's more about the fact that what's best for the players, what's best for the teams. There probably would have been in terms of the economic impact, I don't know how many people would be traveling here to tailgate. Typically those tailgaters, the people who come here to watch the games in person or tailgate, which is typically what brings in the economic activity. Obviously, we're still going to have the students here. I think the big focus for us, from my standpoint, is I appreciate the fact that that's maybe 5 weekends a year or 5 weekends this year, but having the students here is the most critical way that we can make sure our economy is improving as we go throughout the next several months. So the focus really is on the students' angle of things. From my standpoint, the fact that students are returning and they're taking the steps that they're taking, that's going to be the tipping point for economics. But I don't think the games being played here would have an impact greatly on the economy due to all the mitigation efforts that have already occurred. Also, I'll say this, we're not in the room when they're having these conversations. There's people dribbling out information as these meetings occur, either with the presidents of the universities or with the athletic directors, which potentially was last night. And there are reports about these health implications for individuals that are playing these contact sports and what that means. There were some reports about serious medical conditions, health conditions coming out. And so one of the questions that the questions we don't have an answer to yet is what are the long-term health implications from getting COVID-19? We know that young people and everybody that would be suiting up to play for Penn State football is in the young category, obviously, and that's from the research and the last 5 months of the pandemic have shown those individuals do not get as sick as people who probably were in the stands, okay, or coaching the team. And so we still don't know what the long-term health implications of those young men would be. So that's a question we don't have an answer to. So I think some people, potentially university presidents, potentially athletic directors, are stepping back and saying, what's best for the players long term. So again, I personally am not in the room. I don't know what the conversations are. It'd be nice to have all the information, but again, they're closed doors. Difference with us is we're open doors. You see what we do in session. So they're going to take this vote, and that's going to be what it is. So those are my beliefs on it. That's the way that I'm thinking through it. But I do have confidence that President Barron, Sandy Barber will make the decisions for the university when it comes to this specific topic. But I know my fellow colleagues certainly will have other input on this as well.
All right. So this is not a decision by the Center County Commissioners. This is a decision by the Big Ten. It's entirely on them as to how they choose to move forward. Obviously, even our best case scenario was that if the games were going to be played locally it was going to be to a football stadium that was at a fraction of its usual capacity. Obviously, the most important part economically for Center County and the counties that surround us, and even the counties that surround them, is the Penn State students returning, which at this point is what is the decision, what's scheduled. So, most important part is we need the students here. There still, however, will be a substantial economic impact. Number of catering firms, certain types of restaurants that specialize more in sports activities are going to be impacted. I know some charities sometimes staff the food booths inside of the stadium, so they may see tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands of dollars less revenue to fund some of their charitable activities. But this is a decision by the Big Ten. Once that decision is made, Center County will need to react to that decision. But we are a resilient and creative community. Let's take some of the energy that perhaps might have gone into the football and turn it into maybe more like entrepreneurship or economic development or just working in the community to help those less fortunate. So those are my views.
I'm going to be a little bit less optimistic. I think this is devastating for our community. It's devastating for Penn State University. We have, at this point, a discussion from our local visitors convention folks yesterday that we have 80% unemployment in the restaurant industry, 65% loss of revenue in the hotel industry. The loss of Penn State football impacts all of that, but it also impacts the ability of other Penn State sports programs to be funded. And I don't think it can be underestimated the devastation that the loss of revenue to our community and to Penn State has on our overall community. And I understand the need for all the safety. I get all that. But when you look at the human cost of this, you know, poverty kills a bunch of people too. And it's very, very impactful that we as a community do everything we can to support our university, support our local businesses, so they're here when this pandemic is over. I think the loss of businesses and the loss of opportunity and the loss of flavor to our community is real. And we have to do everything we need to do to make sure that we keep Penn State vibrant and our local businesses vibrant. And I'll stay on that platform for a very, very long time, because at the end of this, I want to see what we know to be Center County to be there when the pandemic is lifted. So pretty much what I have.
I'll make another comment. If we had a competent national strategy for how to fight this coronavirus, we'd be playing football with a stadium full of people. We still lack a cogent, direct, focused national strategy. We're seeing report after report about how the White House thought it was going to be blue states that were hit with this pandemic. We're considered a blue state, I guess. We have a governor who's a Democrat. They thought it was just going to be contained there, and they wouldn't have to take ownership of this, and it is spread nationwide. The fact that the White House has not yet had a cogent strategy for how to fight this coronavirus can be directly linked to the fact that we're not going to play football if that's the case.
I don't agree with your political statement, and matter of fact, I find it a little disappointing, quite frankly. I think as each individual state approaches this in a different way, we need to look at it under that lens too. But I don't want to go into the politics of it. I'm just going into the reality that as local leaders, we have the responsibility to make sure that what we have here in Center County remains vibrant, or else we're going to have a lot of tough bills to pay here in the near future. So.
Two brief follow-ups and then Gary. The one would be, obviously, Commissioners Higgins and Pipe, you cite the fact that with the students back, there would still be enough economic benefit. But I had seen some studies, I think the figure was just from Penn State football alone, a $40 to $50 million figure impact just for businesses in the center region, we'll say, in Center County. So I guess, do you feel that there's still going to be, that the students coming back will help offset that, I suppose? Just by the numbers. This is just what I've been reading. And what's your take on that?
My understanding is that with the university's decision was to not have the stadium with fans, that they were, so as it stands right now, if the Big Ten would say, let's keep playing football, or Penn State figures out they go to another conference, however, I don't know what that would look like. But if Penn State still says we're going to play football, it's going to be a stadium empty. So you're not going to have any vendors, you're not going to have, that's currently as it stands right now. So in terms of the largest impact, what would be the next largest impact of having less business in the county? You're looking at the students coming and then not returning, or I should say be going home, or not returning at all. And so from that standpoint, that would be the largest impact that would occur here in the community. But that's not necessarily to say that that would help make up the difference, that that's going to be, we already know many international students are not going to be here. The parents' weekend that's not occurring. There are other things that have already been have been detrimental from an economic standpoint, but again, it's increasing the safety and the public health of the community. So it's not necessarily that it's going to make up the difference. It's not going to, but at least it's going to be a economic activity that would be occurring here. So I think that's the next thing that we need to be mindful of and look at and be aware of.
The other follow-up would just be TV deals, even obviously Penn State stands to benefit a lot from the game still being played on TV, as do other businesses. Pizza shops come to mind, even like a pizza shop, Canyon Pizza, we spoke with them. Just by having the game on TV, they save 50-70% of sales by not having the games on TV, because pizza is a top seller when you're watching the game on TV. There goes that business. So just other examples of just having football being played versus not being played, could have some impact there as well on the university and other,
But Evan, we've known realistically for months the absolute best case scenario would be a stadium that was a fraction full. As Commissioner Pike says, the most recent decisions coming down is no one would be at the stadiums. If you want to take the rent that 46,000 students pay into the local community and have had that be essentially zero, that dwarfs football by several degrees of magnitude. So the most important part is the students are coming back. The students are going to write 46,000 leases minus the international students who aren't arriving. Those students will be purchasing food. They'll be purchasing a broad variety of retail items. They'll be providing a broad variety of volunteer hours into the community. So while it is not good news for several sectors within the Center County economy that football is not going to be played in Center County, the much bigger news is the students are coming back. And again, with the pizza thing, I think some people are going to order pizza anyway. You got to eat. Pizza's fun. Pizza's nice. So certainly there might be a little decrease in pizza, a small decrease in pizza sales for 5 weekends per year. But if the students weren't coming back, there'd be a lot fewer pizzas sold for a multiple-month period.
I think it yet has not been determined what percentage of students are actually going to return, though, of those 46,000. I don't think you're going to have, I think you're going to be unpleasantly surprised how many individuals decide they can work virtually from their home base. And I don't know that it's limited to just football. This is going to be long standing and I think very devastating to our local economy.
Does Center County government have a mascot? No, I'm just kidding. So have you gotten word from Penn State have they shared with you an estimated number, 46,000? Or, because we're pretty...
Nothing.
Okay.
Fritz Smith yesterday, you want to mention, he had stated that if, obviously, and this is depending on today's decision, but if that is the case, that there would be he feels the need to form some form of committee that would sort of have some type of backup plan for this. Obviously, both for football and even if, unfortunately, the students at some point during the semester were to be sent home, is that, and some form of backup plan to try and help these businesses out, has that been discussed with you? Do you have any ideas to what that, plan would be just to help make up for some of this revenue at this point?
I have not been alerted to it.
Liquid fuels funding, PennDOT continues to talk about cutting back projects statewide. Does that impact liquid fuel funding available, or is that separate, or doesn't have any impact?
It's essentially what total pot of money is collected during a time frame, and then there's a formula that sends that out to the counties, municipalities, entities across the state. So it depends on what they collect. So conceivably, if people are driving less, you'll see less liquid fuel revenues coming to the county.
Small business loans, I know it was discussed at the beginning, just following up very briefly on that, and in the next couple of weeks, I've been told that's when the applications will start to go out. Any timeline, though, for when the money could be turned around and then begin to go out to those businesses?
As Commissioner Higgins had mentioned, there was a forum this morning that question might have come up.
Right, so once the applications are up, they'll be up for 2 weeks. That's when you need to apply. If you miss the application window, we're not going to do another round of applications. So quite possibly we could get many hundreds, maybe even over 1,000 applications. That's going to take us several weeks to work through those. Thank goodness the SBDC will be doing a lot of that work, so Mary Kay doesn't essentially almost kill herself with work. Then we'll have a round of checks go out to all of the businesses that met the requirements that did not receive PPP or EIDL loans and grants. Then we'll do another round of checks to the businesses that did receive the PPP and EIDL loans. So obviously you start working that out. I mean, we're probably more than a month away from the first batch of checks, and probably a couple weeks after that for the next batch. But unfortunately, it's going to be roundabout somewhere near $6 million, which is a fraction of the hit that the local community's taken today just on football.
Last thing, and that is for me, and that is tonight, the State College Borough Council is expected to hear the results of a independent study, if you will, investigation, whatever you want to call it, into their police department related to Osaze Osagi's officer-involved shooting of Osaze Osagi and mental health in general. Any comments? I know it's been something that you've had forums on and then heard people from in the past. I guess we don't know what they'll hear tonight, but probably, I guess, anxious to hear this information coming back to the borough.
Is this an investigation on mental health components or just the officer-involved
No,
shooting?
it's the officer-involved
Yeah,
shooting.
I'll pose it. If it's just on the officer-involved shooting, again, that would be the purview of the State College Borough. But if it's mental health, I'll be interested from either account. But they have. I wasn't aware of that. Didn't know that it was coming out.
Where do we stand with the mental health task force? We were told possibly a report coming out in July. Where do things stand?
The Mental Health Task Force has continued to meet this summer. They've had some small work groups, and I believe we should be hearing some sort of an update from them fairly shortly that will be coming both to our Board of Commissioners and to the State College Borough Council, but I think it will be more like early fall before there's a final report.
Any other questions from anybody on the phone, in the room? Okay, seeing none, we'd look for a motion to go into executive session at 10:53.
Motion to go into executive session at 10:53.
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
The motion is carried. All right, thank you all very much.
Thanks.